Hi there, I'm Lily Markle. Thanks for joining in on today's class, which is yoga stretch. We're going to jump right in and start standing. So the first pose will actually be called dangling pose. So I'd like you to start in either of one of three variations. First one will be feet parallel. We'll have a bend in the knees, and you can rest your elbows or forearms on the tops of the thighs, letting the head be completely relaxed and heavy towards the floor. You might even shake the head a couple times, yes and no, to relieve any tension or holding we might have in the neck. Take a couple of breaths here before you decide to deepen the expression of the pose. The idea is to create some traction in the spine, especially in the upper part of the spine. And by traction, I simply mean a pulling or creating space between the vertebrae. Option two would be to take the hands down towards the floor, which would take some of the pressure out of your back and into the hands if you can reach. Just be mindful of that bend in the knees and relax the back of the neck, keeping the head completely heavy towards the floor. This would add a little bit more pressure or traction in the upper part of the spine and the neck. Breathing deeply into the back of the body, in through the nose and out through the mouth. And the last variation, if you're hardcore, would be to grab opposite elbows and to simply lean into the feet. So there's no pressure of the hands into the legs or the floor. Just allow the weight of the arms here being pulled down toward the floor, as well as the weight of the head and gravity working with you to feel that nice long lengthening in the spine. And if this feels like too much pressure in the backs of the legs, too deep a stretch, or too much work in the quads, you can always take this pose up against the wall. So you're leaning your bum into the wall, and that takes some of the pressure off. We'll be here for just another minute. Feeling the weight of the body just sinking down towards the ground, toward the earth. And in the next 3 breaths here, we'll slowly make our way up to an extended spine. Right now we're in flexion. So once you come to the last exhalation, use your hands to lift yourself up to a halfway lift. So feel a little bit of an extension or an activation in the muscles in the back, just to relieve some of the stretch. And then we'll come into a squat. So you'll keep your feet parallel, turning the toes out, the heels in, and just start to deepen the bend in the knees. Maybe keeping the elbows on tops of the knees. If the knees can go a little deeper in the bend, you might sit your hips all the way down towards the floor. And if your heels lift, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, but it might feel more comfortable if you had a rolled up blanket underneath the heels. You can kind of stand on that rolled up blanket or rug or yoga mat, bringing the palms together, the elbows inside the knees. So again, if the knees aren't willing to bend so deeply, then we stay in this sort of half squat position. You might be feeling a lot of activation in the quads right now, so the release later will be that much better. Great. Just another minute here, not too much longer. If you'd like a little bit more of that stretch in the low back and upper back area, we can do this a similar traction in the spine just by reaching our hands forward, similar to the first pose we did. Letting the head droop forward, chin falls toward the chest, head heavy, and deep breathing into the back of the body. And another 2 deep breaths here, your own pace. And then we'll slowly come up out of that shape. So lift your bum, hands come onto the knees. Find that extension in the spine again. You can turn the feet parallel. And then we'll make our way onto the floor. So any way that makes sense for you, you can come onto knees, hands and knees. You can come through the squat position again. And I'll have you extend your legs out in front. So if you have a blanket or a pillow nearby, find a little bit of cushion and sit on it. Sit on just the edge of that cushion. So whether it's the folded edge of the blanket or the edge of a pillow, just so your hips can be a little bit higher than your knees. And then take your right knee in towards your chest, foot planted on the floor. Your left leg is extended out long. You'll open up the right knee to the side and place the sole of the right foot inside the left knee. Good, and then just let that left foot relax. We don't need to add tension to the body when we're trying to release tension. So just let the heel retreat in, let the ankle be soft, toes soft. And we'll start with a little bit of a twist here towards the extended leg. So take your hands either on either side of your left leg, your extended leg. I'll mirror you so you can be on the same side. And then twist your belly button so that it's as close to being in line with your left knee, the leg that's extended. Maybe we stay here if you feel a stretch already in the groin, the back of the leg. Maybe you feel it in the low back, or feel free to walk the hands forward until you feel sensation in the leg or the low back, maybe even the hip. And then once you've found sensation, let your body soften forward over the leg. So you could support yourself by adding props underneath your arms, supporting your head. Sometimes it's nice to just hold your head with your hand. There should be very little effort just to stay in the pose, despite it being quite an intense sensation for some. So see where you can find softness. A little bit of surrender. We're working into the back body quite a bit today. We'll be working through the shoulders and the mid back, a bit of the low back as we're working into a shift in season, a seasonal shift. Moving towards the fall equinox here in North America, where the light and the dark make up equal parts of the day. Marks the beginning of harvest and composting phases of the year. The weather gets cooler. We begin to draw our energy inward towards ourselves, lending us time to pause, reflect, and take stock. Process what came from the summer. In traditional Chinese medicine, the fall is associated with the lungs. We'll be working with the lungs and the heart today, which are the meridians or energy lines run from the middle of the back all the way down both arms to all the way to the pinky fingers on the outer edges of the arms, as well as the large intestine organ systems, which govern our respiratory and elimination functions of the body. These systems are powerfully symbolic for the natural giving and receiving cycle of life. Just another 3 breaths here in your own pace. Allow yourself to find the deepest expression of the pose, complete surrender, softness, relaxed jaw. After the last exhalation, use your hands, not your back, to press yourself up to a seat, an upright seat. Then you'll extend the bent knee and switch legs. So we'll take that now left knee that was extended, bend it in, and then take the opposite leg out. When you're ready, rotating towards belly button towards the right knee. Maybe just pausing here in the upright position. Finding a deeper sense of the pose, finding sensation either in the back of the leg or the low back or the outer hip. Once you've found that, just allow on an exhale, as if it's a sigh, the whole body to just let go in the shape. If there's a little too much pulling in the back of the knee, you could always pad up under the knee so the knee can bend slightly. This gives you a little less pressure in the low back as well. So ankle is soft. Head and neck are completely released and heavy. You could even shake the head, yes and no, giving the weight up to gravity, toward the earth. And find your deep breaths here, in through the nose and out through the mouth. Soft jaw, soft shoulders. Let them melt away from the ears. Let your tailbone sink down toward the floor. Let your belly be soft. And if the mind does wander outside of this shape, outside of this moment, that's okay. One of the qualities of the mind is thinking, thoughts. So just honor that, let them pass through you, let them flow around you like a river. And instead of holding on to them, instead of holding fast or grasping at the edge of the riverbank, the branch hanging over it, just kind of float along with them. I'm trying not to attach any too much importance or criticism. Just notice what comes up, what arises. And if the weight
of that thought is too strong or it pulls you too far away, just come back to the anchor, which is your breath, a deep inhalation through the nose and an exhalation through the mouth. Another 3 breaths here. At the end of the exhalation, take your hands beside your knee,
Pressing with the hands to sit upright. And just extend both legs. We'll take a moment to experience what I call the rebound, which is that moment of rest between one pose and the next. So we'll come to lay flat on our backs. Take up space, arms away from the body, legs apart. If your low back needs a little more support, feel free to bend the knees. You could even take the feet apart and the knees together. Widen the low back actively. Close the eyes if you're comfortable. See if you can feel the weight of your body getting closer to the ground. Almost as if you could float a little away from the ground as you breathe in. Create space between you and your mat or the floor. And as you breathe out, let that be that surrender, a sinking deeper into the earth. Closing the space, making a tight connection. Now we're going to move into the shoulders here. So I'd like us all to start with our right side. So that means we're going to roll onto our left side. So I'm going to actually turn around so you can see what I'm doing with my arm here. As I lie down, maybe support your head in your hand. You'll take your right arm behind you, palm faces your back. Bend the elbow and see where the hand rests. Maybe it's on the low back. Maybe you could reach the hand up a little further up the back. As high as it will go. We don't want to have any kind of intense sensation. So remember, these shoulder joints and all the connective tissues here are very sensitive and very delicate. So be gentle. I would err on the side of less intense than more. And then slowly release your head down towards the floor. And we're going to roll right back onto our backs. So you'll see that my hand is now pinned under my back, between the floor and my back. And you can adjust, sending the hand up a little higher as you need to, just to feel the amount of sensation that's appropriate for you in the front of the pec, the pectoral muscle here, front of the shoulder, maybe into the deltoid, the upper arm and shoulder area, maybe the back of the arm. It totally depends on where the tension is in your body. You could take the feet flat on the floor, choose knees together, feet apart, or you could extend the legs out completely, whatever is most comfortable. And find your deep breathing here. In through nose and out through mouth. The other arm can just be resting away from the body. Just be here for a while, even if there isn't a whole lot of sensation at first. Once we hold the pose for a couple minutes, that's when the real work starts to happen. So we start to get into the deeper connective tissues, the fascia, which hold a lot of tension, but also help to mobilize joints as they carry and hold a lot of
fluid. So it helps to move the synovial fluid, the lymphatic fluid around throughout the rest of the body, helping with circulation and mobility in general, not just in that one joint. Just another minute here. If you'd like to add a bonus quad stretch, if your legs are feeling sore, you will bend the knees again, feet flat on the floor, and let your both knees fall over to the left. And then you'll tuck your right foot a little bit further under your bum so that your knees move in towards this letter Z or Z, sort of zigzag pattern. And then you're lengthening the top of the right thigh. You should feel that maybe in the hip flexor, the inner groin. If that is adding too much sensation on the knee, we have some beautiful light coming in here. I just realized it might be a little distracting. I'll show the zigzag position here. So from feet on the floor, knees to the left, tuck the right foot further under your bum and let your pelvis settle here. All the while keeping that right hand pinned behind your back. And we'll find 3 to 4 more breaths here. Softening, sinking, feeling heavier with every exhalation. And at the end of that last exhale, slowly release the feet first. So the feet are standing flat on the floor. Then you'll roll over onto your left side again and very slowly release your right hand. Come on up to a seated position, very slowly. Could be a cross-legged seat, could be kneeling, legs extended, however it suits you. And then take both arms, extend them out nice and wide. Palms facing forward. Stretch the fingers as far apart as you possibly can. And then that same hand, your right hand, take it behind your low back, the same way we had it on the floor. And then your left hand, fingertips can come to the floor beside you. Then your left ear, move it towards your left shoulder. So you'll continue to feel the stretch along the right side of the neck and top of the shoulder. Deep breaths here, just a few rounds of breath. Soft jaw and face, eyes relaxed. One more deep breath. As you exhale, bring the head back up to center and extend both arms one more time out to the sides. Reach long, reach, reach, reach. Maybe even take the hands back slightly behind the shoulders. And then let it go. Shake the hands. Come to lay now on your right side. So knees are bent. We'll take our left hand behind the low back or upper back or mid back, wherever it falls. And then very slowly release the head down before you rotate onto your back. Separate the feet hip distance apart. Find a comfortable position for the legs. And that right arm can rest beside your body, or maybe you'd like to connect the hand to your low belly. Feel your own body breathing itself. Notice if there's any asymmetries in the body. One side may feel slightly different than the other. That's okay. Notice if you're resisting the sensation or the pose. You need to come out of it and then re-enter. It's okay. I'm not asking you to endure any kind of pain. Simply observing sensation. And seeing if we can soften the body and be a little bit kind and friendly in our minds as we sit with this discomfort, knowing it has so many benefits. Not only on the musculoskeletal structure or system to mobilize the joints and stretch the fascia, but on our organs as we work through these meridians or energy lines in traditional Chinese medicine, we activate certain organ bodies and organ systems. So with this one especially, we're activating the heart and lungs. Option to find that bonus quad stretch, drawing the knees both to the right and then tucking your left foot further under your buttock, that same side buttock, and just letting your hips settle into that shape. Feeling the top of the thigh, not so much around the knee. If there's a sharp pain around the knee, you may need to readjust. It might be helpful to take the foot further away or closer to the glute. Find 4 deep breaths here. Soft jaw, facial muscle. There's an area where it feels like there's a lot of tension. Perhaps we can add tension, squeezing the muscles in the glutes, the bum, and then releasing actively. And you'll notice after adding tension, the release becomes so much more obvious and easeful. After that final exhalation, let your legs come back up towards the ceiling. Roll onto your right side and slowly release that left hand, using your arms to press yourself up to a seat once again, moving slowly, mindfully. When you're there, switch the cross of the legs if you were in a cross-legged seat, the way that's less habitual. You want to retrain the body to be more balanced, and then stretch the fingers out nice and wide. Take the hands a little further back behind the shoulders. And then that left hand, the same side we were working with, turn the palm to face behind you and place the hand to your low back, right fingertips on the floor beside you. Slowly, as you exhale, lower the right ear to the right shoulder. And take 3 to 4 deep breaths here. Soft face and jaw. Soft belly. Keep the little bit of lightness and friendliness around the heart space. So lifted in the chest,
So by friendly, I just mean forgiving, non-judgmental, non-attached to how it looks or what it should feel like. One of my teachers likes to say, don't should on yourself. Just experience it for what it is, as each experience changes from one moment to the next. So use your next exhale to lift your head. Breathe in and extend your hands way out wide. Stretch the fingers. Take your palms a little further back behind you. And release the hands to the floor. Shake the hands out. Our last couple stretches will be for the butt. Don't worry for the glutes. We're going to come to lay on our backs, and this is how we'll finish. So you have a blanket or pillow nearby, please grab one of those and then slowly help yourself down onto your back. And then from here, we'll take the left foot and stack it on top of the right knee. This is known as the figure 4 stretch. It's like you're making the number 4 with your legs. If that's difficult, then you can cross at your ankles and just let your right knee fall towards the floor. You can see where I'm going here. So right foot over left knee or right foot over left ankle. If this feels like enough sensation here, feel free to stay. Otherwise, option 2 would be to come up onto your forearms or even up onto your hands, fingers facing back behind you. So we bring our chest closer to the knees. This can be a lot more deep a stretch, but not as restful. So if you want more rest, less work, then perhaps we can do the same shape on our backs, and you'll bring both knees up towards your chest, both feet off the floor, and then you'll thread your hands on either side of your left thigh, interlace the fingers and clasp behind that left leg. If you can't quite reach, then just grab a hold of your right shin. So this takes a little bit of core strength to lift the legs up and hold it there. You choose. It might be easier for some to lift chest to legs, and for others, bring legs to chest. Just a few rounds of breath here. It might even feel nice to add a little rocking motion side to side. Letting your spine be long and flat on the floor. This rocking kind of helps to soothe their nervous system. Imagine swaying a little baby, how much comfort it gives them to move side to side or up and down. This small repetitive motion helps to add some settling to our overstimulated minds and bodies, overexerted, information overload, take in a lot of stress, a lot of responsibility for the information that we consume, whether we know it or not. And so we can learn a lot from animals, actually, and babies, but animals, especially dogs, you'll see them shake or sigh. And that's intuitive or instinctual, I should say, for them to release any kind of stress in the moment. Humans are good at releasing those little stresses in the moment too, but when they become chronic and repetitive stressors, they build up and they become less easy or more difficult to let go of. So if we can sort of emulate our furry friends, we can shake or rock just like this and release some of the stress from the body, because the body keeps the score after all.
one of my favorite books by author Peter Levine, I think. And then we can add a sigh. Just make it as natural as you can. Breathe in and let it out. And then we'll switch sides. So taking now our left foot on top of the right knee, either choosing to stay here or come up onto forearms or hands. And we could do the rocking side to side here as well. Or you can stay lying on your back and thread the needle, we say, clasping behind the back of the left knee. Deep breathing. Softening the face and jaw, keeping the rest of the body heavy and grounded. Add a sigh whenever it feels natural, not forced. Another 4 breaths here. And when you're finished that final exhalation and your sigh, release both feet to the floor and extend both legs out long. One final stretch, reaching the arms way overhead, fingers reaching in opposite direction of the toes. Stretch yourself as far apart as you can. Reach, reach, reach. And then exhale. Just surrender where you are, taking up space. Eyes closed. Enjoy this little gift of stillness. I'm going to read a short excerpt from another one of my favorite authors, Lauren Roche. Feel free to stay as you are. Rivers of power flowing everywhere. Fields of magnetism relating everything. This is your origin. This is your lineage. The current of creation is right here, coursing through subtle channels, animating this very form. Follow the gentle touch of life, soft as the footprint of an ant, as tiny sensations open to vastness. Power sings as it flows, electrifies the organs of sensing, becomes liquid light, nourishes your entire being. Celebrate the boundary where streams join the sea, where body meets infinity. Just basking in this feeling of vastness here for a moment longer. Spaciousness where no time or place or personality is needed. All responsibility dissolves away momentarily. Following any currents or sensations that arise, that you're drawn to. Begin to sense the outline of your body as it makes contact with the air molecules around you.
And feel the gentle expansion as you breathe in, and a sweet contraction or release as you breathe out. Let those breaths become a little larger with each wave. Perhaps allowing this sort of pulsing of the body to open and close. Opening fingers, stretching the palms. On the inhale, and on the exhale, closing, softening into yourself. Moving between the balance of darkness and light. Open and retreat. Until those movements become a little bit and a lot bigger, to the point where you're extending your arms out to the side, maybe even all the way overhead, still lying on your back. You might choose to draw the knees into your chest as you contract everything into yourself. And when you're ready, maybe a little bit of rolling, rocking side to side. Maybe it feels good to rock forward and back on your spine with the hands behind the knees, using the legs for momentum, or you can simply roll to one side. Either way, we're coming up to sit to close out our practice. And once you're seated upright, gathering another breath in with the arms reaching up overhead. Big stretch, and then exhale, gather the hands together in front of your heart in this offering of thanks and gratitude for yourself. A couple more of those. Inhale, gather the arms up overhead. Exhale, hands to your heart in thanks. Inhale, arms up. Exhale. Softly offer a prayer to yourself or someone who may need some support right now. Thank you for being here. It was a blessing to guide you through this practice. So I'm happy to stick around if you have any questions, or if you'd like to email me privately, you can find me at lilymarkle.com. All my contact info should be there. So thanks again for joining, and I look forward to teaching you all again.